Hi, I'm Jeremy and this is Grammar Gurus. On this episode, we will be looking at the past simple tense. We will look at when we use the past simple tense, how we form it, and we'll look at a few example sentences. We can use the past simple tense in a few different ways to talk about the past. First, we can use it to talk about a completed action in the past. For example, the phone rang a few minutes ago. She watched a movie last night. I went to New Hampshire last year.
Today it's very cold and it's snowing.
These are all examples of completed actions in the past. We can also use the past simple tense to talk about a series of completed or finished actions in the past. For example, he chopped the onions, boiled the water, and cooked the chicken. Or, we booked our flights, packed our bags, and took a taxi to the airport. Or we can use the past simple tense to talk about an action that took place over a duration of time, showing how long the action happened, especially using the expressions for or all. For example, she lived in England for 4 years. She doesn't live there now, but she did for a period of 4 years. Or, I stayed at the station for 20 minutes. Or we could say, we waited there all day. Or you studied all week. We can also use the past simple tense to talk about things that we did habitually in the past, things that we did a lot in the past, especially using the expressions when or the adverbs of frequency never, sometimes, often, usually, or always. For example, I always played football after school when I was a kid. Or, they usually took the subway to school. Or, he ate spicy food when he lived in Thailand. And lastly, we can use the past simple tense to describe things in the past and the way that they were. To describe things in the past, we often use the verb to be, which in the past simple tense takes the form of was or were. We use was with I and with she, he, and it. And we use were with you, we, and they. Okay, let's take a look at a few examples of this. I was a very cute baby. They were excellent students. She was very popular in high school. These are all examples of describing things in the way that they were in the past simple tense. Now let's take a look at the form of the past simple tense. We form the past simple tense with a subject plus the past simple form of the verb. And that's it. Now it's time for some example sentences. First, let's look at an example sentence of a completed action in the past. She ate a bug. Okay, so in this sentence, what's the subject, the who or the what that's doing the action? She. And what's the main action? What's the main verb in this sentence? Ate. And are there any helper verbs, verbs that help to make this tense? No, in the past simple tense, we don't have a helper verb. Now let's take this sentence and make some questions with it. First, let's make some yes-no questions. Questions that could be answered with yes or no. And to make a yes-no question, we need to take a helper verb. And remember, in the past simple tense, we don't have a helper verb. So what do we do when we don't have a helper verb? We use the helper verb do. And we put do in the front of our sentence. And do is so helpful that it takes the past tense from ate and it becomes did, while ate changes back to eat. So our question is, did she eat a bug? And to answer this, we can answer it with yes or no, but we need something more than just yes or no. We use yes plus the subject plus the helper verb. So yes, she did. If we want to answer with no, we need to have not. So we can say no plus the subject plus the helper verb plus not. No, she did not. Now, did and not can be put together to form a contraction. And a contraction is when you take two words and you put them together to form one new word, usually with a little apostrophe in there. So did and not form the contraction didn't. No, she didn't. Now let's see an example sentence of describing things in the way that they were in the past. They were lost. So we have the subject, they, and we have the verb to be in the form of were. And the verb to be is a very special word because it acts as the main verb in the sentence, and with the verb to be we don't need to add a helper verb to make questions. So to make a yes or no question with this sentence, they were lost, we just take our very special word, the verb to be, were, and we move it to the front. And it becomes, were they lost? And we can answer this with yes or no. But remember, we need something more than just yes or no. So what we do is we answer with yes, plus the subject, they, plus the verb to be, were. Yes, they were. And if we want to answer with no, we need to have not. So we can say no plus the subject they plus the verb to be were plus not. No, they were not. Or no, they weren't. Now let's look at how to make some more information questions. Sometimes just yes or no isn't enough and we want some more information. So let's take a look at how we do that. So to do this, we take our more information question words, words like when, where, why, or how, and we put them in front of our yes-no question. So with our first question, did she eat a bug, we can use the question word when, and we can ask, when did she eat a bug? And we can answer, she ate a bug yesterday. Or we can use how. And we put how in front of our yes-no question, and it becomes, how did she eat a bug? And we can answer, she ate a bug with her hands. Now let's look at our other question. Were they lost? And we can use our more information question words to get more information. So let's try where. Where were they lost? We can say they were lost in Bangkok. Or we could use why. Why were they lost? They were lost because they had the wrong map. Let's take a look at how to make questions with who or what. To make a question with who or what, we just take our original sentence and we take out the subject and we replace it with who or what. We use who to talk about people, and we use what to talk about things that aren't people. So let's take a look at our first example sentence. She ate a bug. Now we can take out she, and we can add in who. Who ate a bug? And we can answer, I ate a bug. And let's look at our other sentence with the verb to be. They were lost. We just take they out and we replace it with what? And the question becomes, what was lost? The zombie was lost. Now let's take a look at how to make negatives in the past simple tense. Sometimes we want to show that something didn't happen in the past or that something wasn't true in the past. So we make the sentence negative. Okay, let's take a look at our first example sentence. She ate a bug. Now to make this sentence negative, we need a helper verb and we need to add not. And remember, we don't have a helper verb, so we can use the helper verb do. And remember, do takes the past tense from ate and becomes did. And so we can say, she did not eat a bug. Or she didn't eat a bug. Now with our other example sentence, they were lost, we have our very special word, the verb to be, in the form of were. And when we have the verb to be, we don't need a helper verb. We just add not after the verb to be. So we can say, they were not lost, or they weren't lost. Okay, now it's time for the tough stuff. The past simple tense can be easy in the sense that we don't need to change the verb for I, you, she, he, it, we, or they. But it's difficult because there are so many irregular verbs, verbs that change in a strange way. The way that eat becomes ate, or how take becomes took, or make becomes made. These irregular verbs you will just have to memorize. There is no easy way or trick to remember these, but we do have a link posted in the description below. The other difficult thing in the past simple tense is the pronunciation of the ed ending. The ed ending on regular verbs can be pronounced in 3 different ways. It can be pronounced as a t sound, a d sound, or as an id sound. Let's take a look at a few examples of these sounds. Verbs that end in an M, N, R, G, J, L, Z, V, B, or a vowel sound have a d sound for the ed ending. For example, slammed, canned, slurred, clogged, wedged, pulled, buzzed, loved, jabbed, played. Verbs that end in a P, S, SH, CH, F, K, or X sound have a T sound for the ed ending. For example, stopped, passed, pushed, watched, coughed, packed, boxed. Now, you don't need to remember all of these sounds, but just try and pay attention and hear which sound they are making. But one thing you should remember is that when a verb ends in a T or a D sound already, it has an extra id sound. For example, the way wait becomes weighted, or dedicate becomes dedicated, cheat becomes cheated, code becomes coded, load becomes loaded, and fade becomes faded. But remember, this is only for verbs that have a T or D sound at the end already. You cannot say walked, loved, or stopped. Those should be pronounced walked, loved, stopped. Now let's see if you can hear the different sounds the ed ending makes. Which of these 4 words has a t sound for its ed ending? Shoved, opened, snapped, or landed? Snapped. Snapped has a t sound at the end. Shoved and opened has a d sound at the end. And landed has an extra id sound at the end. Now, which one of these words has a d sound at the end for its ed ending? shocked, hummed, painted, cashed. Hummed. Hummed has the D sound at the end, while shocked and cashed have a T sound at the end. And painted has an extra id sound at the end. Painted. Okay, and one more. Let's take a look at these 4 words and see which one has an extra id sound at the end. Printed, saved, scanned, or searched. Printed. Printed has an extra id at the end. Saved and scanned have a D sound at the end. And searched has a T sound at the end. Okay, well, that's it for this episode of Grammar Gurus. I hope you enjoyed learning about the past simple tense. Be sure to click here and subscribe. And if you have any questions about English or grammar, leave them in the comments below. Thanks.